Hey there, everyone. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome to my channel. So this is all about analytics. I try to make everything practical and realistic. So I call the channel Analytics in Action. I used to be more focused on data science, but honestly, I talked about many topics in data science and kind of ran out of things to do, sort of. So I decided to make the channel just broader in perspective and wider and more far-reaching. So I updated the name of the channel, and I'm going to not say focus just on data science. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit, but let's just look at the big broad picture of the world of analytics. Okay, so in the narrative today, I want to show you how to build a radar chart. Okay, or they're called radial charts. So I got the inspiration from this link over here. This is called Visual Capitalist. This is their take on it. Okay, I'll show you my version in just a minute. So this came up on my radar a few days ago. I like the overall visual appeal, the way it kind of like pulls you in and makes you very fascinated about what's going on here. But it's also and while it's kind of complex, it's also very, I would say, simple in terms of how it presents the data too, right? So you can see the radial chart, you can see everything circling around here. You have a nice little map of the world in the background. And I think the ranking of each of these is associated with the like the mark in the map where the label is. So I think this number one is Kosovo, number two is Saint Martin. I don't necessarily see that right here. I think St. Martin is like off the coast. Oh, no, I do see. Yeah, so that's number two, and number three is Marshall Islands. So I'm trying to see. Oh, I do see that over here. Okay, so I see the top three. So I think it's visually appealing. It draws you in, but it's not overly complex. It actually takes something that's somewhat complex and actually simplifies it. And that's what you want to do with any kind of chart, right? You want to take something that's kind of difficult to explain, plot it, or chart it somehow, and have a very engaging visual, and that answers a lot of questions. And if your chart is raising questions or making people confused, it's not a good chart. Okay, so this is their data over here: Kosovo, St. Martin, Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. This is Caribbean, this is Europe. So we have the data right here, pretty straightforward. They have the top 25. I'll admit, okay, guilty as charged. I did not get these on the second page over here. I didn't get 26 through 42. I only took the top 25. If I updated the data, I would have all 42. I'm a little bit lazy, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to get what's on the first page. And I think that's totally fine. And if you want to find out more information on these radar charts, so you have radar charts in Plotly, in Python, sorry. And it's pretty straightforward. You have your data frame over here. I'll show you in just a minute how we get that. You have your rho, your theta, and you just plot this thing out, right? So pretty straightforward. This is the same plot. It's filled in. This is, again, similar type of thing, right? So this is a scatter plot now, and it's filled in with the rho and theta. And over here, we have the original data frame, and we have the plot, right? So that's how these things work. Here's another tutorial over here. I would encourage you, if you're interested in these things, go take a look at it. It's pretty straightforward, guys. So you just have the data frame over here. The data frame is used in this scatter polar over here, and you just fill in R. This is the rho. This could be frequency. Theta is the direction. Color is strength. Symbol is also strength. Okay, you can see the strengths over here. Size is frequency. So the bigger the size of the object over here, whether it's a square or a diamond, it just represents a higher frequency. And this is, I guess, wind data. I guess that's all it is wind data. So here you can create a pretty interesting, very engaging chart with just a few lines of code, right? And Plotly does the whole lift for you. So I would say just Google that. That's literally all I did. Radial charts, Plotly. That's why I got that. So here's my take on that data. And I don't want to copy anyone and plagiarize anything that's being done. So I made mine a little bit different, but kind of definitely like in honor to the person that put together the chart on this site over here. I think they did an excellent job. I'm going to try to show my own take on this kind of thing. Okay, so no plagiarism. That's certainly not my intent. It does look a little bit similar, but it's not going to be the same thing. Okay, so So that's it. I think that's enough setup. So we have the data down here. Everything is going into this data frame right here. And I'm just doing a little bit of modification to the data frame in the data science world. These are called feature engineering exercises, right? So I'm creating a new feature from an existing feature and just replacing anything that has a percent sign just with a blank. And the reason to do that is because you can't plot percents, right? So we get the original percentage and we can see in the data what's happening here. This is negative 9.69%. So the country lost 9.69% of its population. That's what we're looking at, right? So countries with shrinking populations, this is down 5.17% and this is down 3.35%. And again, I'm creating a couple new columns from the existing columns. I want to get the absolute value of these rates. So the original rate was negative. I need an absolute value. Basically, you can't plot a negative in Plotly. If you think about it, like a 1 is a 1, a 2 is a 2, 100 obviously is 100, but anything that's negative, you can't plot that because a negative doesn't exist in the Plotly world. And I think that makes sense too, okay? So that's how they set it up. I can't think of how you would plot a negative. Maybe you can come up with some creative way. I think the designers of Plotly just said, we're not even going to deal with it. We'll have everything in the same relative scale, but it has to be positive. So we're just taking the absolute value there. The theta is, I'd have to look this up. I think this is the change. I have to look in the Plotly documentation. Maybe I'll look at that right now because I knew that before. I actually forgot. Plotly. Theta value. So let's see what they say. Doesn't really even say it, or I'm not seeing it here. I forgot. I think this is the change, though. I think theta is change. So I don't see it there. That's weird that Google doesn't even have it. But I think that is the change or the overall relative change. And the bar width is going to be a fraction of everything here. So we have 25 different records, starting with negative 9.69 and going down to negative 0.31% change. So it lost that percent of the population. The bar width is going to be pretty much the same for all of these. So we just take 25 divided by 100. I think that's how that number is derived. And the color starts with a darker pink and then goes different shades over time. Okay, so let me create the data frame, control enter to run the script in the cell, and I will drop in the code when I post this video later so you have everything. So here's the data frame. Pretty easy to construct that. So again, absolute value, so we can get a positive number. We can't plot negative numbers. The theta, oh, here it's in my notes. For the angle in degrees where the bar is placed around the circle. So that's the theta. Okay, it's not really a change. It's the angle of the degrees. The bar width is to show the angular width of each bar. That's pretty self-explanatory. The color shows the categorical style, and it changes slightly relative to all the other items being plotted here. So it changes relative to its peer group. And the label just shows the HTML format. So when we mouse over it, when we plot the chart and put the mouse over it, we have a nice little bubble popping up. I think it's called a tooltip, or I think it's called a tooltip that pops up. Okay, so again, I'll share all this code with you. I'll take you through the high level, what it's doing. Let's go, let's swing over to the chart and see what's being done here. So just like we saw in that chart before, we have the larger countries here. I put the mouse over it. That's what the HTML is doing. So the mouse goes over and the bubble pops up with all the details. So you can see this is number 3, this is 2, this is 1, and you can see the details there, right? So negative 0.69, negative 0.517, negative 517%, and negative 3.35%. Again, this is shrinking population over time, and the circle goes all the way around to the end. Hungary is the last country, negative 0.31. If we go back to the data frame, we see the same thing here. Hungary, negative 0.31%. Okay, so mine is a little bit similar to the other. I have the black background, but I don't have the global plot in the middle. I don't want to copy these guys and plagiarize things. And again, this is my own code, my own take on what they're doing. So I think it comes out pretty nice. This is the end of the code. I will step through some of this script because I think the details are extremely important, and it's not that complicated if you break it down. So like I showed you in those plotly charts before, we always start with the data frame, right? If I do Control F, I can see all the references to the data frame. So this data frame is constructed over here. Then I'm going to reference all the different, not all, but most of the different columns in the data frame. So for the first position here, again, we're taking absolute value. That's going to be the bar. This is the degrees. Is that how it's being defined here? Or the angle in degrees, where the bar is placed around the circle relative to the peer group. This bar width comes from over here. So bar width is going to be the same for all of these bars. So it's always the same relative. Now you could do different things like maybe the absolute value could be the bar width. I could actually try that. I could do absolute value over here and see what the difference is. ABS. Didn't even try that. I just went with the bar width. Yeah, so it's a different visual. But when you take the same relative amount, you take 100 divided by 25, you get 12.5 or whatever that was. So this is bigger and bolder. It kind of stands out, but this is so tiny right here. It's almost unnoticeable. So I think if we stick with the original, where is it over here? The original concept, I think that's just a little bit better. So this was called what? Bar width? Yeah, let me copy it. I like to copy rather than type things out, kind of lazy like that. So we'll go back to the original design. I think this is good. So you can see the bar width goes all the way around and everyone is relatively the same width, right? So we get this full coverage of the circle. The whole thing is covered up and this looks nice. Otherwise, Hungary is so tiny relative to the others. It's almost disappearing, right? It's almost unnoticeable. So that's it, guys. That's what I want to show you to keep in mind. So everything looks a little bit complicated, but it's really not if you focus on these things, right? So the R comes from the data frame column ABS. The theta, which is the degrees around the circle, comes from the theta, right? The bar width we calculated by 100 divided by 25 because we have 25 different countries here. The color is just the color that I assigned. I'm trying to make it somewhat similar to the other colors we saw before. Then you have line markers, line width, things like that. We are going to take the rank of the country and the region and the rate strength and pop that into the chart too. And there's going to be a couple more things that I'm interested in doing here just to kind of make the chart look a little bit similar to what we saw before. Now I can actually comment this out and rerun this and we should get something pretty interesting, but it's going to be kind of different from the original. Yeah, so we start to miss some of the labels and I do like those labels. So I'm going to include that. But not all of these things are required to run this, right? Like if I take out the inner rank dots, we're going to miss the rankings, but we don't really lose a whole lot. We still get the most of the effect of the chart. But if you want to see those little rankings inside, I think that's how the visual capitalist actually did it, because I did see that they had rankings inside. So I added that in. But again, this is so tiny in here, it's hard to kind of see it. You can zoom in, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they all go in a descending order from largest to smallest. So I think it's okay, but it might have more of effect if these higher rankings are larger. Like you can see the bar kind of extends horizontally just a little bit more, right, for the bigger numbers over here, and it's very tiny for the small ones. So maybe that's another layer that you can add into it. But I think I pretty much got what I needed to get out of this thing. So again, you would reference the data frame, Control F, to look for all the data frame references over here, and then the column in each one, right? Then we can build the outside perimeter. So we're getting absolute values and the theta, that's the degrees around the circle, right? And we're getting the outer radius again from the theta and the label. So data frame.label. Down here, we're getting the inner rank dots. I just showed you that. And then you take everything, put it together. So you're kind of creating these different multiple layers, dump everything into the plotly chart, and then figure.show right here will show the chart. So everything kind of gets layered in, packed in together, and then you show the chart. And that very last line will display the chart as we intend to do it. Okay, so that is kind of it, guys. A little bit complicated, but not bad. Use Google, use ChatGPT. These things are your friends. And that's it. I just wanted to show you how you can go ahead and create a radial chart. I think these things are very useful, very interesting as well. And you can have a lot of fun, right? And take something that's kind of complex over here, right? If you just print that out or just put that into a PowerPoint deck, that might be a little bit confusing to people. If you take all that data, pop it into a radial bar chart and present it in this fashion, I think it really pops off the screen, it captures people's attention, and it really makes a pretty powerful statement. That's it, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for your time. I will download the copy of this code right here, export it as HTML, and you can download that file. You'll have everything you need. I'll drop the video a little bit later today. You'll have the code and the video, and you're good to go. Put that into your Jupyter notebook and test it, tear it apart, put it back together and see what you can do with it. That's the best way to learn these things. Okay. So that's it, guys. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.